Okay, session heads, today I'm going to introduce you to a beer that is big-headed from a little town, and it's bitter and it's sweet. Okay, so I was hoping to come here and get some views of Pikes Peak, but it's been very humid today, and so it's hazy. So the mountains are kind of hiding from us, and I forgot my tripod. So I'm just gonna have to try and hold my camera very still so not to make you nauseous. But I wanted to tell you that I got to perform recently at the Denver Beer Company. Denver Beer Company actually has 5 locations around the Denver area, and I got to perform in the Littleton location. Littleton's a town that's just south of Denver. It is part of the Denver metro area, but they've done a really good job of preserving their downtown. So when you're walking on their main street, it really feels like a small Colorado town. They've got locally owned shops and restaurants, and they even have a record store right there on Main Street called Records on Main. So that's pretty cool. And right in the middle of all that sits the Denver Beer Company. They don't brew beer at this location. In fact, all of the brewery operations for all 5 locations have been consolidated in a larger facility somewhere near the Highlands in Denver. But the original 2 locations in Platt Park and Old Town Arvada, I believe, still have their brewery equipment, and they did not decommission it. It is not just decor. They use it for research and development, which I think is really cool. So the brewers, I guess, try out new recipes and ideas there, and then if something sticks, it makes the menu. So I think that's a great use of a microbrewery once it's expanded to multiple locations. They do have, at the Littleton location, a cozy little tap room, but that's not the beauty of the place. The real gem of the Littleton Denver Beer Company is the beer garden. They have a really large outdoor area for sitting and enjoying your beer, and what's more, it's covered. So even if it's raining, you can still sit outside and enjoy your beer. And they have glass walls they can pull down, so if it's windy and raining, you're still good to sit outside. I was there on a particular day that was a scorcher, which is problematic when you're performing outside. And I was very pleased to find when I arrived that they had misters built into the ceiling running the entire length of the beer garden. So me and all the people hanging out were just as comfortable as could be. I had a wonderful time there. They have a full kitchen with a menu. I had a burger and some fries rolled in duck fat. You heard that right. Duck fat. It was amazing. So thumbs up on the food, guys. Obviously I was there to perform, so they do live music. That makes me happy. Had a great time just hanging out there in the beer garden with everyone, watching the sun go down, watching people stroll up and down Main Street and performing for everyone. The staff was so welcoming to me. Katie and Josh and Shay and Patrick and Sydney, I think I got your names all right, just really, really welcomed me. If you've spent time in a brewery, you've probably seen a tradition that happens often, and you may notice the brewer and some of the bartenders going off to the side and raising a small beer in toast occasionally. It usually happens at a shift change. So like if someone's knocking off for the day, it's sort of like, you know, raising a little glass of beer and saying job well done. Well, there was a shift change while I was there, and these guys invited me into that tradition, which was really, really amazing. They did not have to do that. I felt very welcome. I felt honored, honestly. So thank you guys for that. It really made me feel welcome. And also some people who had gone to school with a friend of mine here in Colorado Springs when he used to live in Littleton showed up, and they had never met me, they didn't know me, they just heard I was playing there and showed up to offer support. So that also made me feel very supported. So thank you, everyone. I had a blast. It was a wonderful, wonderful time there. So the beer, I sampled several of their beers. You can't expand to 5 locations if you don't have excellent beer. So their beer was top notch, and I tried quite a few, but the one I landed on was this. It is a bittersweet blood orange IPA called Big Head Todd and the Monsters Bittersweet IPA. So if you are old enough to remember the 90s, Big Head Todd and the Monsters was a band out of Boulder, Colorado that hit it pretty big on the national scene. And probably their biggest hit was a song called Bittersweet. Sweet then bitter, bitter then sweet. And we were just so happy to have a band from Colorado. Nowadays, there's tons of music coming out of Colorado, but back then they were kind of leading the charge. If you're old enough to remember the 70s, you're probably saying, Steve, what about John Denver and Firefall and some other bands? But back in those days, really, Big Head Todd and the Monsters were our local hero. So we were so proud of that band. So I thought that was pretty cool, Big Head Todd and the Monsters Blood Orange IPA. Apparently Todd and some of the members of the band went to high school together near Littleton. And Katie, who booked me, said, you know, Todd's here sometimes. Sometimes he's hanging out in the crowd. He wasn't there when I was there, which is probably a good thing. I would have freaked out knowing there was a famous musician in the crowd. But still, I think it's a pretty cool thing that they honored Big Head Todd and the Monsters with their very own beer. So, you know, if you're in Denver and you want a perfect evening, I have one for you. Head down to Littleton, stroll around, shop a bit, head over to the record store, buy yourself an LP of Big Head Todd and the Monsters, an album, then swing into Denver Beer Company for some great food, sit outside in comfort, enjoying a nice blood orange IPA, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see someone you recognize there, wink, wink, and you can get your album signed. I know it's a stretch, but there is a non-zero chance that that could happen at Denver Beer Company in Littleton, Colorado. So if you want to join me as I explore Colorado and the craft beer we make here through the eyes of a musician, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I also have a web page where you can find out where I'm going to play next and see all these episodes and everything. But until then, here's to Littleton, here's to Denver Beer Company, here's to Big Head Todd and the Monsters, and here's to Colorado. Drink it all in.